Lincoln had won the election. He was jubilant. Messages flooded his desk. Some were congratulatory, and some were, of course, party hacks seeking jobs in his administration. Others, however, were messages of hate and outright threats against his life. He struggled to reconcile the hatred people had for him, particularly in the South. There were rumors that Southern activists were going to stop the train from getting to Washington and possibly kill the president-elect. They brought in the most recognizable detective at the time, Alan Pinkerton, from the famous Pinkerton Agency. Initially, they had brought Pinkerton in to protect the railway. They thought it was just a plot to stop the train, but would later discover that the plot was more sinister. There was also fear that Maryland may secede from the Union and stop Lincoln from arriving in Washington. Several states had already seceded. Pinkerton sent his people out around Baltimore to judge the mood of the city. The information that was obtained was disturbing. The mood was anti-Lincoln and spiteful. Lincoln wanted to travel by train to Washington, with numerous stops and events along the way. Lincoln continued to receive death threats. On February 11th, 1861, Lincoln got on his train to Washington. Pinkerton learned of a plot against Lincoln, but the details were still shaky. He finally discovered a man by the name of Cipriano Ferdinandi, a Corsica immigrant who was going to kill the president-elect. By the time Pinkerton had learned the details, Lincoln's train was already on its way to New York after it had already made a stop in Indianapolis. Lincoln's train was going to go from New York and then to Philadelphia. Pinkerton rushed to Philadelphia. Pinkerton and Lincoln knew each other. Back in Illinois, Pinkerton had worked as a detective for the railroad, and Lincoln was a lawyer for the railroad. With some compromise, Lincoln allowed Pinkerton to alter his route to Washington. Pinkerton sent Lincoln to Washington early and on different routes, coming up with schemes along the way so Lincoln would not be recognized. He even cut telegraph lines. That way, if somebody recognized Lincoln, they wouldn't be able to transfer the information forward. In the end, of course, Lincoln made it to Washington. He would start his presidency with an assassination attempt, and then his presidency with an actual assassination. If you like these short presidential videos, please hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks for listening.